you mentioned the tagline. I was about to bring that up because
Yeah.
as head of brand, I gotta shop that tagline around as much as I can.
Yeah.
And you guys actually brought it to me. Like you said, it actually came from the customers. And it's ambitious. It's also what I imagine most startups want to be able to say and then figure out how to back it up later. Sometimes changing one thing changes everything. But how do you see this product really backing up that idea of changing everything? What actually is going to change? If you're a security team, if you're a CISO, what do you see changing with this?
Defending and enabling a collaborative environment is fundamentally different than an adversarial one. And when you use a consumer browser by design for the good of the goal, the good of the consumer, it is not collaborative with that enterprise. So you end up having to treat it like a caged animal. You put all these boxes around it, all these control points. And in so doing, there's only so much you can do. Breaking open traffic, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to intersect, trying to change, trying to make sure data doesn't flow or spill out where you want to. Where all of a sudden, when it's a collaborative environment, all these things simplify. And so our ability to add value to the existing cybersecurity solutions was quite large. Like they could work so much better and be so much more cost effective. And then the ability to remove horrible things we injected into the enterprise, like, desktop as a service to control data. The idea of a poor worker going out onto a SaaS site via the web and getting their traffic rerouted to another server to render it, to then go to another server to clean it, to then go to another server to audit it, and then finally out to do their job. And all of that pain could be lifted and removed. That's what it started to change. Literally, there wasn't an area that we couldn't add value and we couldn't make, an improvement on. And it was the case of, changing one thing changes everything. Doesn't mean everything gets ripped out. Doesn't mean, anything that was adding value before is irrelevant now. But what were the steps to get that value? Can we simplify it? And that's where it started to come to. And then the use cases just kept seeming like they were endless.
Yeah, as we've said, as we looked at how this gets applied across the customer base, we started off with very humble beginnings, thinking we would, change the way folks worked with critical and sensitive data. We could change the way they interacted with SaaS applications that held, the crown jewels of the organization. But very, very quickly in our conversations, we started to see a myriad of uses that we never dreamt of. Organizations using it to enable users to go to scary sites or collaboration platforms that they don't trust because they had full control over that again. The ability to deprecate or remove technology like VDI infrastructure, where, they stood it up primarily because things like the pandemic hit and remote work started to become important. And it really didn't provide any security value other than what Mike said, just another layer in the stack. And so when they started seeing what we could do, they immediately started envisioning ways in which they could remove complexity, cost, and friction out of the end user experience.
Right. And I remember you mentioning to me this kind of analogy to trying to bring someone in or out of a building, right? A high profile person. You remember that analogy? Because I really think that stuck with me of like how this really changes the whole approach.
Yeah, whenever you come up with a new concept, you have 1,000 analogies. And one we would use occasionally is, what is the expense to protect an uncollaborating element? And if you think about it just as a human, if you're the bodyguard for somebody and they aren't going to tell you what they're doing, they're just going to walk out of the building when they want, go where they want, go wherever it's going to go, and you have to build everything to catch that. Or if they're just as simple to say, hey, I'm going to bed tonight, see you at 8 a.m. And you say, oh, great, everybody stand down, we'll deal with this in the morning. That idea that the browser could just start to collaborate, it just opened up so many opportunities. And, whether it's the idea of owning the pre and post encryption logic, which is huge, owning the presentation layer, or being able to provide the back-end information, whether it's the audit information, the anti-malware information, whatever it is, to the systems that need to get it easily. All of those end up having a big, big outcome on cost. And that's really where the evolution started to really get interesting, is these are self-funded projects usually. So the idea of that collaboration isn't just better security. It isn't just a better end user experience. It's taking enough cost out of the environment that the effort to undergo this is a net positive to the customer and end user experience and expense and security and productivity, that's not what we usually get to sell in cybersecurity. It's usually an additional control that you're mitigating risk for, and that's got to be enough to carry the day. To be able to give back on those fronts and open up more oxygen, more capacity for the users, that's the collaboration coming through. That's that high value target cooperating with you
Sure.
instead of being oblivious to your existence.
Sure.